Disney's Snow White remake has become the company's worst nightmare. The film has reached a humiliating new low, sealing its place as the worst-rated Disney release of the decade.
Everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, people will wait in line to see.
Rachel Zegler is officially avoiding the media after the Snow White disaster. After the massive flop, she reportedly even moved to New York City to escape the public spotlight. Fans spotted Rachel traveling on a local New York train, and honestly no one could believe how quickly her situation had fallen apart. Disney's Snow White saw such low attendance that social media exploded with pictures of empty theaters. By its fourth weekend, the film had lost more than half of its original screenings, with many theaters pulling it early to make room for more successful films have to
keep talking about Snow White, because Disney's Snow White remake, the box office has suffered a 66% drop in the second weekend of showing. So the film's flop could end up costing Disney millions of dollars. We know that the movie is currently one of the lowest IMDb rated movies of all time, receiving a 1.6 out of 10 rating. It's generated $143 million globally to date, which is well short of the $250 million that Disney has spent producing the film, and that doesn't even include the marketing expenses.
It gets even more humiliating. One fan posted a TikTok showing that she was literally the only person inside the theater watching Snow White. She stayed for a few minutes before realizing she had the entire place to herself. By mid-April 2025, Snow White had been pulled from 1,200 venues. A movie's theater count dropped from approximately 3,750 locations on opening weekend to just 2540. That's not just a small dip, it's a complete collapse. Box office trackers like Forbes confirmed that Snow White screenings were being cancelled at record speed. Why? Because nobody was buying tickets. Reports showed some screenings selling as few as 3 tickets total, with the daily averages dropping to around $53. By late April, it became impossible for theater owners to justify keeping it on the schedule when newer hits like Minecraft the movie and Captain America Brave New World were pulling real crowds. Just to put this into perspective, while Rachel Snow White was playing to empty seats Minecraft, fans were literally bringing live chickens into theaters just to celebrate. It wasn't just America either. In China, footage surfaced of IMAX screenings for Snow White that were completely empty. And somehow Rachel Zegler embarrassed herself even further when she personally showed up at one of these nearly empty theaters, only for the TikTok of her sitting alone to go viral.
As a good reporter, I went to check it out myself yesterday here in Shanghai. Now, including myself and my friend, the entire IMAX cinema had just 5 audience members. And that is despite Disney going all out in their promotion of the film here in China. There was even a poster in the elevator at my apartment complex.
At this point, it's clear that Rachel's Hollywood career is in serious danger. Major studios have already started reconsidering her for future projects, and insiders say her political statements during the Snow White press tour have made her a high-risk name that most companies don't want to touch. Rachel's emotional breakdowns, controlling behavior during filming, and constant political remarks didn't just tank one movie. They could be the reason why Disney is now shelving future woke remakes altogether. And believe it or not, the financial damage to Disney is even bigger than you think. Disney's Snow White isn't just a bad movie, it's now officially being called the biggest flop in Hollywood history.
Move on to lighter news now, and a news that will surprise, well, none of us. Disney's live-action remake of Snow White is officially one of the biggest flops in Hollywood history.
A new report from Outkick reveals the brutal financial numbers. Originally, Disney insiders hoped the loss would stay around $115 million, but with Snow White's final global gross only reaching around $195 million, the losses are now expected to hit closer to $145 million. And the biggest story, Disney's entire strategy of pushing woke live-action remakes might finally be collapsing because of it. Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, was recently asked during an interview about the studio being called too woke. His answer, he awkwardly admitted that he doesn't even really know what woke actually means anymore, and claimed that Disney is just trying to spread positive impact around the world.
I love what you said about wanting to entertain audiences. Critics saying Disney's too woke, but you're just putting out storytelling.
We are. Look, I don't really like the term woke because I think it's an umbrella term that I'm not 100% sure I even know what it means. And one could argue that sometimes it's used too liberally. That said, our primary purpose is to entertain. And where we can entertain responsibly, obviously, we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world. But the first thing we need to do is entertain.
But actions speak louder than words thanks to Snow White's flop. Disney has quietly paused production on its next live-action remake. Tangled was supposed to be Disney's most expensive live-action remake ever. Insiders say the budget for Tangled was set to top even Snow White, but after Snow White's disastrous box office and non-stop public backlash, Disney decided to stop Tangled's development immediately, and Rachel Zegler's involvement didn't help. Sources say that even before Snow White collapsed, Disney executives were already getting nervous about Rachel's public image after the film flopped. Major production studios started reconsidering Rachel's future projects altogether. The Snow White disaster isn't just about one actress or one bad movie anymore. It's about the collapse of an entire billion-dollar strategy that Disney was betting their future on. And the worst part for Disney, there's still more fallout coming, and Rachel Zegler's reputation is right in the middle of it. Rachel Zegler's Snow White disaster didn't just ruin her career prospects, it's also created a massive divide between her and her co-stars. Rachel is reportedly in full meltdown mode after getting brutally trolled online for her political comments, and the woke Snow White flop insiders claim she might even be seeking therapy now to cope with the backlash. Meanwhile, her co-stars are distancing themselves. To Gal Gadot, who played the evil queen in Snow White, recently addressed the situation without naming Rachel directly. Gal said the Snow White project failed because of a lack of teamwork behind the scenes.
The executives were pressuring Gal to defend the Disney agenda and the message behind the film. Gal refused, since she knows her career is at stake. There was one confrontation between both Gal and Rachel, where Gal recently told Zegler herself that she was the sole individual that tanked the entire film at the box office.
Insiders also revealed that Disney allegedly asked Gal Gadot to publicly defend Rachel and help clean up the movie's image, but Gal refused. It's obvious that Gal, like many others involved, is upset that Rachel's political remarks derailed the entire project and hurt everyone's reputation. And it gets worse. Rachel's controlling behavior wasn't just a fan theory, it was visible even during filming, according to behind-the-scenes reports. Rachel tried to dominate decisions, especially when it came to how Snow White should be portrayed. She openly said during a press tour that all of Andrew's scenes could get who knows now.
You've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story. With a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
That's incredibly disrespectful toward her co-star Andrew Burnap, who had worked hard for his role. Rachel even called the Snow White prince a stalker in interviews, fully mocking the classic love story that made the original movie beloved for generations. Instead, Rachel's version of Snow White was designed to be a dominant, independent woman with no romance and no prince, a complete departure from the original fairy tale Disney built its brand on, between alienating her co-stars, dividing Disney's own executives, and angering fans all over the world. Rachel's glare didn't just ruin one movie, she backstabbed the entire Snow White cast and burned every bridge around her, and at this rate there might not be any coming back. At this point, Rachel Zegler's Snow White disaster has spiraled far beyond a simple box office flop. It's become a full-blown Hollywood cautionary tale, from 1,210 theaters dropping her movie to Disney reportedly shelving future live-action projects to her own co-stars like Gal Gadot refusing to publicly defend her. The collapse is complete. Rachel's woke interviews, controlling behavior behind the scenes, and non-stop political comments didn't just hurt one movie, they destroyed an entire strategy Disney was banking on. Now even Rachel's future in Hollywood looks uncertain as major studios start backing away. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think Rachel Zegler still has a chance at saving her career after all of this? Was Disney's collapse more about bad corporate decisions, or was Rachel's attitude the final nail in the coffin? And should Disney stop making these live-action remakes altogether? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're reading everything, and we'll feature the best ones in the next video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.